Hi everybody, this is Tim Fraser from Forsys, and I'm here to give you a quick walkthrough through the client value proposition of the RISE and CPQ combined solution. Before we get into the actual RISE product, let me just give you some orientation to how the market is laid out. And if you're not familiar with the B2B e-commerce segment and also the CPQ tooling, the markets in 2019 sit like this. If you look at the actual CPQ in tools and in the products, the top quadrants, this is the Gartner chart, the top right quadrant is obviously the target preferred area. If you look at the names of the companies, Oracle, SAP, Apttus, Salesforce, these are the players in terms of the leaders for the CPQ products. However, if you look at the next chart over, the B2B e-commerce players, they're the similar names of the companies, but the products are actually not the same. So the problem that we've seen in the industry is that the marketplace is pretty fragmented. A lot of there's been a land grab. A lot of companies are buying and gobbling other smaller companies. The big guys are buying the small guys. As a result, a lot of the problems are introduced by system integration, bolting on solutions that are not naturally designed for that platform, or you end up having 3 or 4 different products basically to create a solution. So if you've got a CPQ product and you're trying to create enabled a digital e-commerce, B2B e-commerce portal, you'll end up having to mix and match a lot of different solutions. Now, what we have done with Forsys has done with Apttus and Conga is we have partnered really with the CPQ leader, Conga, Apttus product, a CPQ product, which is really in the strong leader quadrant, and we have enabled the digital e-commerce portal, which is really the storefront, by enabling a front end, a very lightweight front end on top of Apttus. And in doing that, we've actually done more than just a UI. We've actually built integration directly into the core Apttus and the underlying Salesforce sales process and sales lifecycle processes. So we have a unified data model that we interact on at the e-commerce level. All that is accelerating, basically bringing Conga, which was previously having a digital e-commerce footprint, or Conga and Apttus had a footprint somewhere in the challengers quadrant, but really accelerating that up to the far right quadrant. And that is a projection, but it is the joint partnership that is what's going to be bringing this to your table, so you can take advantage of this simplified B2B e-commerce solution on top of CPQ. Okay. Now, so I think I've covered these topics in just verbalizing the previous slide. The B2B e-commerce portals and the market space is growing. It is an ever-growing market. It is actually one of the fastest-growing market segments, even bigger than the B2C e-commerce market. It is extremely competitive. As I mentioned, the acquisitions is driving the fragmentation, and the companies that are buying each other up don't have enough time to be able to truly build a unified product or a unified database and a unified solution on top of their underlying CPQ engine. So partnering with Apttus and Forsys, our differentiation, though I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. The reality of most CPQ products is that you end up with a really labor-intensive, cost-intensive custom integration solution. Most companies buy e-commerce products that have a separate database. They have a separate application integration. They have a lot of development to do, a lot of code to write, unless they have a WYSIWYG type of a front end built on top of a unified data model, which is what Apttus and Forsys does. The integration time frame is very long and it's costly. So it's slow to market to get your B2B e-commerce portal up. Now, Apttus, single platform, single solution, unified architecture, unified data model. I mean, it's just really using the power of the best CPQ engine out there, which is Apttus and Conga. And we have native cart services built into the e-commerce portal that uses the embedded CPQ solution cart and all the power and capabilities that through API that allows us to have a headless experience with a personalization on the front end, which is really all the stuff that you typically want to build for your user experience that creates differentiation. This all ends up being high value and rapid time to value. Okay. Now, so once again, in summary, CPQ, B2B, Apttus, Forsys, Rise, really that combination is being a winning combination, not just because we say so. It's something that we are really proud to say that we have a storefront experience and customers taking their B2B Apttus B2B, the Apttus CPQ and enabling it with e-commerce in weeks versus months. Our competitors cannot say that. So end-to-end, we have end-to-end integration, unified data model. It spans CPQ, CLM, billing, lifecycle. All of that is exposed. It's scalable. It's scalable because we have a very lightweight solution. We have API-driven headless solution. All this data is coming directly from your underlying data source, which is your CPQ solution on a Salesforce platform. It is a single storefront that manages all your e-commerce products. So the power of CPQ is exposed in a Apttus CPQ is exposed in a strong way because you in effect end up with a multi-channel, all the power and the capabilities of having a configurable, lightweight CPQ solution that your customers can use, but also your salespeople can use to enable a rapid, learning curve, so they can produce sales using their B2B e-commerce portal just as well as, if not better, using the front-end web-based tools. Okay. So in addition to what we bring to the table from a front-end headless, Forsys has taken a very strong approach on Jumpstart templates that allows you to have not only visualization templates, but also the configuration that goes with that for vertical industry segments, so we can build an omni-channel selling experience all out of the box using a rapid Jumpstart program. So we'll talk more about those details and how we do that. So, top 10 advantages, summary. Time to market, rapid time to market. We have embedded a 2D and 3D visualization engine. It is not just a visualization engine, it is also a visualization and configuration engine. That means that you can see complex products in a 3D viewer. And if you decide that you want to configure those 3D viewer components and do it through a visual editor, you can do that. It actually updates your cart. So anything that you change visually that is done and is verified through the business rules on the visual editor, that actually configures your Apttus CPQ and Conga CPQ under the covers dynamically, so you can actually update your shopping cart, and the visualization shows your newly configured rendered product, or you can go the other direction, which is start from the visualization editor and have your cart updated in either direction. Obviously, those life cycles for configuration support configure not just the standard products, which is just for viewing, but also the configure to order, CTO, as well as the engineer to order lifecycle. So you can enter into your B2B e-commerce portal using any one of those mechanisms, either using a sales engineer, a self-service portal. You can have a configuration experience from a base product and modify it, or you can start with a full-on engineering to order lifecycle and then work backwards to either producing a bill of materials and a quote using dynamic SKUs. So all that is possible in item number 2. We will show also in our Reimagine conference, the deep dive on the WYSIWYG Designer. It is a shopping cart designing solution that is for the admins, so there's no code required. This means that your marketing people, advanced marketing users, can actually build and deploy a storefront versus having to write code and having to hire developers to do that for an out of the box experience. We also, like I said, item number 4, have visualization, industry-specific templates. And we'll go a deep dive into that a little bit further about how the templates are managed and which industries you're going into. But we are taking a vertical approach to our go-to-market on our configuration, so that you get an out-of-the-box experience using UI as well as a API that interfaces with all the powerful features of your pre-configured Apttus CPQ, Conga CPQ, that allows you to sell in a specific way for your vertical industry. And this is with not just a UI, like I said, but this is all about the embedded knowledge and best practices on how to sell, how to configure products, what the workflow, what the processes will be, and then hyper customization capabilities that you can do on top of that. Because we are sitting on top of Apttus CPQ and we have an omni-channel experience for selling with named users, you can log in, have an anonymous experience for shopping, or you can have a named user experience for shopping. That is all exposed through the login process, which is exposed on the B2B e-commerce portal. All that drives the ability to take the power of the CPQ engine behind the scenes, the most powerful engine for CPQ, which is Apttus, and have a unified experience no matter how you are displaying your user interface to your users. You always know about who they are and sell appropriately and have the interaction with your customer, whether it is a distributor, a reseller, or your end customer. Whichever your experience is, this can be customized to have a unified way of selling. You can see your channel partners in their forecasting model. You have a visibility to be able to see what they're doing before even you get your quotes and orders. So you have a lot of transparency when you create an omni-channel platform. All of this is in a B2B e-commerce front-end portal. By the way, the impact of having a single platform with the items we've talked about so far is you end up putting your investment on a much flatter trajectory. Your IT investments to service your clients become much lower because you have a unified platform and you've got a lightweight front end and you've got an e-commerce experience that is built in out of the box without having to do step upgrades over time. You can actually grow with the solution much smoother. You do not have to have step investments over time, especially when you take advantage of the fact that all of this is cloud-based and it is transactional in terms of the pricing model, so you don't have to make large IT investments to do this. Okay, moving to number 7, supporting all the types of commerce. Like I mentioned before, there are life cycles for how we kind of have out-of-the-box experiences that support a punch-in, punch-out. That, if the terminology is not familiar, we basically allow you to create quotes and orders and then go in and out of it through an EDI interface to back-end ERP systems where people typically natively live. So if you're not having a user experience selling directly on e-commerce and you're having a corporate buyer that's looking to buy something out of the standard catalog that is published into their system, these EDI integration do punch in, punch out directly to those interfaces. So you end up having a unified way of being able to let people sit in their native systems while still implementing all the rules and processes of how to sell for that client through that channel. And that's the punch in, punch out, and plus either it's web or mobile or EDI in a punch in, punch out mode. One of the other things we take advantage of is Forsys has a real-time analytics engine which allows you to see your sales while it's occurring and you're in your pipeline, not after the sales have occurred. So you have the ability to do some influence your selling through intelligence using the real-time analytics, and we can cover that as a little bit. Double click into that if you're interested directly on our chat group. So feel free to chat with us on that one because we're not presenting those details of our product at this stage in this conference. Obviously, the integration of a B2B e-commerce is incomplete without a nice, strong interfaces to your most popular payment and tax gateways and engines and address lookups. All that is done out of the box, so based on which companies you typically do business with, we can interface to that. All of this allows you to, in effect, create a much more unified sales experience. So most of what we've discovered in our working with our clients, that 45% of our call center calls for in the case of the precast industry, for example, these are numbers coming from there. It's 45% of all call center calls are non-transactional, which means somebody's calling to say, "Where's my product? And is it in stock? Or what's my price for X product or Y product? And where's my order?" All those, let's just say, operational communications can be enabled using the B2B e-commerce portal that allows you to push the information to a self-service model that allows your salespeople to truly work on revenue-generating or revenue-enhancing sales, as opposed to and taking orders, as opposed to answering questions that cost you a lot of money. Now, we do this in a way that allows you to still maintain a punch in and punch out to your sales teams. So, depending on if you're having a channel partnership and an omni-channel experience, or you're either selling direct or selling through e-commerce resellers, who you contact so you can answer questions. If your customer is doing self-service, they can punch out to the appropriate sales team and have a communication using workflow to make sure you have a facilitated discussion around their cart and what's in it. So those are the top 10 advantages of Rise Storefront. We're going to go a little deeper. I'll take you a couple of layers deeper into this, how we do this thing. Okay. So in summary, the value proposition for you, the customer, as buying from the Apttus and CPQ plus Rise B2B e-commerce portal, is your value is broken up into three vertical functional areas. One is the admin. We take a very strong self-service admin experience. Industry vertical, as I said, drag and drops, CPQ live data widgets coming directly from CPQ, so you do not have to have data embedded in your e-commerce architecture and moving data around. All that is coming directly through APIs and presented using pages and layouts and widgets and components, all the WYSIWYG stuff that you do to have a rapid store configuration and customization, allow you to do rapid branding, multi-store capabilities, all the things related to content management and including versioning. And on top of this, which is not an obvious challenge in the industry, is whenever you're trying to build a commerce portal, deploying it, in this particular case, as this sits on top of a cloud solution, the actual deployment process is fully automated. It does not require any technical skills, and we do provide versioning, so there's always an understanding of what got deployed where. That is your admin experience. And the end client is going to see some value, which is, like we said before, industry-specific B2B processes, omni-channel, punch-in, punch-out, as we talked about between EDI and back-end ERP systems, or web or mobile experience. Collaborations, direct collaborations with your salespeople, whether it is an omni-channel sales or it is a direct sales. Guided selling, as we mentioned before, where this is actually a powerful one, because you can take your sales team your internal sales team can also be using your own B2B e-commerce portal and use the power of guided selling in an easy functional UI that enforces the knowledge and of your power users through business rules on the back end that gets translated into a very simple front-end user experience. This is all about making it easy for the people to do business with you. That includes your internal salespeople. So we have recommendation engines for that's really the power of CPQ, recommendations, and validations of conflicts and collisions in system configuration. It's all done, and it is done in a, like I said, in a simple UI. Product visualization with 3D, that is, we covered this earlier. It is the ability to see complex products in a 3D visualization engine. We partner with Engineering Intent, and we are bringing to market for the first time in this industry not only a B2B e-commerce portal version of the 3D visualization, but a native CPQ, Apttus CPQ, Conga CPQ 3D visualization integration that allows you to have a both your external clients or even your inside sales have the ability to see and visualize and manipulate the 3D objects using full 3D rendering tools that are optimized for performance. Most of the 3D tools are very difficult to use because they're slow and clunky, and the architecture that we're using is all cloud-based. Allows you to have a very simple experience with very low investment to bring 3D to your product sales. And last but not least is your hyper personalization. Allows you to do further customization of your processes and your user experience, so you can differentiate your B2B e-commerce portal from others to be able to have a delightful user experience. All this translates to what is on the far right, which is delivering business value. It's, once again, time to market, lower cost, industry-specific templates, integrated sales, out-of-the-box tax engines, calculators, address verification, validation, integration with CPQ and e-commerce, fully integrated with full Apttus and Conga CPQ e-commerce gateways, using the interfaces that are built in, and we allow you to be able to rapidly go to market with a codeless solution. And obviously, doing business with e-commerce in omni-channel e-commerce business is one of the key advantages that you have, is that you can start out small and start growing to a large scale and complex selling go-to-market strategies. Okay, next. So those are the, like I said, I keep repeating myself, but it's really things that it's important to understand. No code required, out of the box, and 3D product visualizations. We've experienced with our clients that these are probably the top 3 things they really care about. There's a lot of things that we bring to the table with the Forsys Rise product at the engineering level, but quite frankly, these are the top topics that we hear from our clients about. Hey, they want to know more about this, and we'll talk more about these in the conference. The end result of all of this is rapid time to value and maximizing your revenue. Okay, so starting with the top benefit people are interested in. It's not the only benefit, but it's one of the top 3. Visualization Designer, no code. You can see that all the Storefront Designer, and the Builder, the admin pieces of our architecture, cloud-based store configuration, all has a WYSIWYG. It's drag and drop design, built-in templates, components, etc. So you can do a lot of customization of your UI, as well as the integration, as well as the workflow, and we can do multi-persona support, so you can end up having omni-channel, like you said before. We have every one of the CPQ advanced features are directly visible in the UI framework for the B2B, because they've been wrapped in widgets, so we can in effect have a widget-oriented drag-and-drop experience using the full-feature CPQ underneath that. We build, like I said, all these core capabilities with payment gateways, and allowed you to jumpstart those capabilities in a vertical template context, so you can have a rapid time to market experience with. By the way, some things we just take for granted is multi-channel, but it's also multi-currency support for capturing global currency. So the deployment is a 3-step process. You pick a template, you configure it, you preview it, you publish it. Now, mechanically, this can take minutes. In practice, we've seen about from start to finish, from starting a project, we strive to have our customers up and running in weeks. On average, we don't suggest you try to do it too fast, because you do have to think through your CPQ and your configuration and out of the box. But within 6 weeks, you can have a fairly robust B2B e-commerce portal that's production grade, ready to go out the door. But your mileage will vary based on how complex and how many products you're configuring. So depending on how much data you have to import, that will drive your complexity. The actual mechanics of building a storefront literally takes minutes, but the process of seeding your data and getting it ready and data quality and all that is really where the life cycle is. It's about 6 weeks. Industry vertical templates. So we have templated solutions with CPQ. So I'm using the word template very loosely here. I just want to be really clear. We do have industry vertical segmentation in which our focus is there. Manufacturing is we're focusing on the what I call micro verticalization for Precast. That's the Precast concrete industry, high tech, healthcare, and life sciences. And there's more coming, so stay tuned. We are continuing to make investments in these for new verticals and micro verticals. As you can imagine, we have abstracted a lot of with our experience, the ability to bring best practices in a unified way in the model. But we've also discovered that a lot of the systems and solutions that people think are unique are actually quite standard. So instead of giving you a Swiss Army knife with the ability to configure your system till the cows come home, we are taking a much more pragmatic approach to really provide stay within the guidelines and the best practices for a particular industry. These are validated, and then you can modify it from there. That way you can drive your solution much faster. The most common mistake and problems in CPQ implementations, like I said on my initial interview on this topic, is that we have feature shift and feature a scope increase because there is typically either because of the data or because of the understanding that you have your processes and the system may not fit it, the balancing act that you're going to have to embrace between do you change your processes and or do you change the system, and where's that sweet spot between the two, because it's going to take a little bit of both. So focusing on and challenging your organization to try to fit within a standard sales model and as best practices for that industry is your starting point, and that in itself saves months in your implementation cycle, because we are using your data to drive your configuration out of the box in a unified way. Feel free to modify and change and make this 100% yours, but at least you have the ability to jumpstart your CPQ experience on B2B e-commerce portal. So you can actually enable sales to close deals faster as a result of all these things. So you're standardizing how you go to market. That goes back to standardized business processes, configuring bundles to order to make and with ready-made parts. We have a pre-configured CPQ out-of-the-box configuration, which allows us to be able to take your data and massage it and push it into the system, not just with the mindset of automation and improving the process through speed, but it's really about thinking differently. It's about how would you sell differently, how would you apply, and how would you restructure your products so you have fewer SKUs. SKU proliferation is a real problem, so we do a lot of that by the best practices of configuring through our accelerator program. All of this brings geo-specific and customer partners and pricing lists to the table. Automation, discounting, approvals, streamlining complex quoting bundles and standalone products, expediting contract turnaround and invoicing and billing times. All of these are your end gain as you look at leveraging some of the capabilities and the know-how that Forsys has brought to the table in these templates and automation. Okay, next. So once again, this is the same information. I just want to show it in a slightly different way. So when you look at the chart to the right-hand side, and you see what's different between verticals, these are the things that are different: products, models, offerings, business processes, your quoting, your billing, your management. All those are very unique to certain types of ways of selling, such as if you're doing product sales, or you're doing services, or you're doing renewable licenses, depending on your subscription-based selling, depending on what your products and your company is selling and how you sell it. These are the areas and these are the topics that you'll have to look at how they interact and interoperate between the layers that allows you to be able to deploy. We sit on top of this architecture where we maintain a customer experience with personalization. We have the designer, the templates, the visualization, 3D visual and 3D config, tax engines, and then all of this is an abstract of what we call Rise, and it sits on top of the Rise specific CPQ API layers. We have encapsulated all the green stuff, which is typically the Apttus Conga stuff, that allows you to take CPQ, guided selling, using the eCommerce SDK, all the order management, all the process flows, all the discounts, all the bundles, all the service data, all the APIs, data access to from CRM and also to your ERP. Expose that through an encapsulated API layer that allows you to create widgets over all the user experience customization that we bring to the table. And this is really the power is having the widgets of the storefront. This is where the power of simplification comes about. And we started obviously in the manufacturing and the high tech and the healthcare businesses so far. As we go to item number 3, the third highest area of interest in the Rise CPQ context is really the 3D visualization. So I'll keep it simple here. If you have a shopping cart experience and you have a 3D and you have a complex product, visualizing that complex product, which is basically using a 3D view only, you could be opening up an attachment, which is a 3D model, using a 3D model viewer, depending on if it's AutoCAD or some other 3D modeling tool. All that is very heavyweight compute. We have partnered with Engineering Intent to make that simple, make it the viewer is rapid rendering in the browser. It works in a cloud solution, so any of your 3D images that you have that are viewed on standard configs can be viewed and manipulated, so you can actually play with that 3D image while you're looking at your product is in a view mode. But if you decide that you want to actually modify that and configure your cart, you can have a complex product use case where you can take your standard cart and start configuring it. So we call that the configure to order lifecycle, and you can do it in 2 different ways. You can either start with the shopping cart experience and add options and products and groups, or you can go into the 3D visualization tool and manipulate the object, and inside that tool they are also standard configuration choices. And as you pre-configure, as you can make those choices in the 3D viewer, the 3D model is actually firing business rules, and it is checking the structural integrity. If it's something that has three-dimensional forces of gravity or spatial needs and whatever it is, if it's a construction model, or if it is a dependency on an IT sale, for example, a data center design where you have hierarchy of components and stacking of servers and the physical visualization of that, or even medical devices where you can actually see the inside of the device by layers, and you can see the actual structure, which are hard to visualize and see that this is really what you're looking to buy or configure. We allow you to be able to select a configuration version from your cart to the visualizer, or from the visualizer with a change process that updates your cart when you select your changes. So you've got the ability to maintain an integrity between your cart and your visualizer. All that is a partnership with Engineering Intent. And these are going to be the options that we're bringing to market. They're coming to a CPQ engine near you in weeks and months. We are actually actively working on these solutions and have working systems. We have actually built a custom version of this for one of our Precast clients, and we are now taking this to a broader set of customers with a more generic solution that allows all the construction and manufacturing industry, and now and also the healthcare, life sciences, as well as high-tech industry, to take advantage of these complex products that have configurations that are best rendered in a 3D model to be able to sell in that way. Okay, so that is your 3D visualization. Here's a small example of what the visualizer allows you to do. This is a cutout of the tool. In this particular example, we're looking at a UI here, which is really part of the engine, where the configuration is done through the Salesforce UI. As you update your choices for lengths and colors and other attributes that you're selecting, fence holes, this is basically a road barrier, and the configuration of this load barrier allows you to have these holes for lifting. You can have these pins to hold it, or you can have scuppers at the bottom for water to move across and below it. All of these configurations can be done through through a UI through selecting options, which go to your cart. And as you update your items, the visualization in real time is re-rendering this 3D model, applying all the technical business rules from an engineering perspective on the legitimacy of that design, and how and the dependencies of these options that will then validate. You can get real-time visualization of any errors you get, that allows you to then reconfigure appropriately. Of course, with the 3D viewer, you've got X, Y, Z axis, so you can manipulate this 3D, and also skin the object and see layers, as you can see down here. The other thing we can do is look at the PDF viewer and pull things down in a PDF format, so you can actually take a look at this and print it. And also a bill of materials can be downloaded once you've had a configuration done. So like I said before, the use cases that we were looking at for our clients that has driven this behavior is I want to rotate render the bundles. I want to view from any angles. I want to download the print visualizations. I want to go to market quicker in an engaging way. And I want to increase the value of quoting into my sales and customers. These are all the benefits that you can get. I want to eliminate pricing errors and help sales teams close deals faster. This is the net effect of having the ability to be able to actually see what you're doing on complex products. Okay. This is not a defined list. This is just some of the topics that we've heard from our customers that they really are excited about. 3D visualization, as I said, the three major use cases are here. Make a standard lifecycle, a viewer. And then the item number B is the configure to order lifecycle, where you can add to the cart and visualize the objects in either direction, from the cart to the visualizer, or the visualizer back to the cart. And also the engineering to order lifecycle, where you can talk to an engineer first. And the experience will look like taking a standard product off the shelf, either customizing it or starting with a custom product with new requirements that are built and designed and then pushed out to your cart, and the SKUs are built dynamically. So you end up having to be able to create one-off solutions, which could then eventually become a standard CTO experience in the next life cycle. But you can support a life cycle using a CTO, ETO, or make to order, build to order for standard things. So, what's the major takeaway here? We are here in using these tools and these technologies and the innovation that we brought to the table and the partnerships we're doing and the hard work we're doing with our teams to take our knowledge and our experience and embed it into the core engine, is really to maximize your revenue. And we're doing that while we're optimizing your cost. So Rise as a B2B e-commerce solution is not just about e-commerce. It's really about changing the way people do business with you and how you can be a differentiator between you and your competitors. So out of the box optimizations, eliminates months of designs and setup work, and we do it basically takes non-technical designers and to get a functionally working system up and running fairly quickly. I do not want to underplay the challenges you have to do regardless of RISE, which is a typical CPQ configuration. We jumpstart that with the templates, but we also need to acknowledge the fact that there is work involved in rationalizing your ways of selling, and that will be part of the effort. But this is where the way you save time on configuration, you can spend time on planning and spend time on deciding how to sell your products differently in your SKU rationalization, and then expose that through our RISE product to your clients. The architecture is relatively straightforward. RISE Storefront Web, which has a B2B e-commerce portal. This is obviously the slightly more geeky part of the presentation, where you have some layers of the architecture. We have the RISE specific industry services APIs, RESTful APIs, and remote methods and common methods that we use to do interfaces to tax and shipping and calculation engines. Provide payment providers and ERP systems, but that we actually interface with all the core capabilities of the designer. And the back-end system is not only talking to the ERP and the integrations, but it's talking to the core Conga Apttus CPQ engine, which is the most powerful engine, a unified data model that allows you to be able to accelerate your time to market and configuration. So that's the architecture. If you have any questions, please feel free to not only contact us at info@Forsys Inc., but please, if you're here at the conference at Reimagine, please interact with us and ask us some questions on our chat group. So you can private chat us directly on the digital format in the virtual rooms with us. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you.